World of politics is still going strong at the state legislature. Despite the session winding down, lawmakers are still hard at work. Most of the big issues, things like the budget and Garvey bonding, are finished. But two others that still remain involve local option and personal property taxes. And some now believe those two issues are putting the House and the Senate at odds.
Right now, we don't have the votes on the floor.
And that's the way things have been regarding a bill that proposed amending the state constitution. It would allow cities and counties to increase local option sales taxes for issues like transportation, as long as they received a two-thirds majority vote at the polls. The issue died in committee and was resuscitated last night by Senate leadership.
If there is not the support for the resolution tomorrow, we'll probably just pull the resolution back to committee, and that will be the last of it.
Senators didn't like it being a constitutional amendment, nor do they like a required two-thirds majority vote in order to increase local sales taxes. So why was this bill revived? Well, Representative Maxine Bell believes state senators are using it as a bargaining chip.
And so that's the Senate's now sitting there and saying, well, let's talk.
She says a number of House members liked the bill, so senators are holding it hostage in order to get another bill passed that they like. That bill is in the House and would create a $75,000 exemption for businesses like Micron and Albertsons on property that includes things like furniture and computers. Bell says this type of bargaining chip politics is quite common.
If one body has a bill that they really like and would like to go home with, and the other body would prefer it a different way, they usually hang on to something, and when they get together, then they have something to talk about.
However, Senator Bart Davis says that just isn't the case here.
I'm unaware of it.
He says there's no reason to believe any bill is being held captive.
In my opinion, each bill is currently running parallel with each other. There's no coupling of the two bills.
Which rings true considering the local option tax amendment has no chance of passing. Davis says the support just isn't there. But Representative Bell remains unconvinced, saying senators like Bart Davis have their reasons for politicking this way, whether or not it makes any sense.
And a lot of us are just simply out in the dark on a lot of this, and we just sit here and hope to go home.
Now, originally, representatives had proposed removing personal property taxes from big business altogether, but that would have cost the state about $120 million. Senators changed that to a $75,000 exemption, saying it would be more affordable at around $20 million, and that was unpopular in the House. So at this point, it appears it and the local option tax bills are all but dead, which means the session could wrap up as early as tomorrow.
It will be known as the flat tire for this year at the state legislature. You won't be paying any more money in registration fees or gas tax hike this year, but lawmakers say they are going to work very hard to change that over the summer. And they say they're going to come up with a bill that is going to pass next year. The Capitol Watch team has been working on this story all day. They were at the State House all day long and talked to lawmakers about the controversial transportation bill that failed to pass this year. Isabel Bilbao joins us from the newsroom.
Those lawmakers we talked to say it's not just about fixing the roads to make them easier to drive around. They say it's also about the economy. If it's not easy to maneuver around the roads because they're broken up or need repair, those lawmakers say businesses won't set up shop here. The traffic will continue to move along Idaho's highways and byways. The legislators have put on the brakes in raising money to fix area roads. The transportation bill, considered by some to be the most controversial yet most important bill, hit a dead end this year. It's good news for residents who won't be paying more taxes for 2008, but lawmakers like Representative Ken Roberts of Donnelly say it could cost taxpayers more in the future.
We have to understand that there's a need for new revenues in the state.
There has been confusion on what the money raised through registration fees and gas tax hikes would pay for. It's not for Garvey projects like the expansion of Interstate 84 from Meridian to Caldwell. That money has already been allocated. Instead, it would pay for repairs elsewhere, like Highway 55 and US 2026.
We've got thousands and thousands of miles of roads out there, and as we build that infrastructure, it costs a lot of money to maintain it, and it costs a lot of money to build new roads.
Senator John McGee, chairman of the Transportation Committee, says lawmakers and groups will meet throughout the year to come up with a financial plan that will make constituents happy. He says if nothing changes, it will not only affect the roads, but business too.
If a company from Caldwell is trying to ship goods and they're stuck on the freeway at 8 o'clock, that costs them money. and it also costs jobs. And so that's my concern. By not doing enough on our roads, we're going to eventually hurt our economy.
McGee says while the governor's proposal to raise registration fees would have helped the problem, the majority of voters felt the cost was too much. He says now it will simply take some time to put together a plan that's fair to taxpayers.
We found out that's a tough balance to strike, but I think we can find it.
And Representative Ken Roberts, one of those representatives you heard of there, says the last time they raised the revenue was in 1996. He says they stopped the incremental fee increases in 2004 because they decided to pass the Garvey bomb, but they say now they need both to take care of all our roads.
Last year it was the grocery bill. This year, Isabel, the transportation bill.
Something every year, Mark.
That's right. Isabel, thank you for that.
Idaho's lawmakers will end the session without a fix for road funding.
Yeah, lawmakers admit they can't come to an agreement the day before they're set to go home. Reporter Hannah Nadeau has the story from inside the State House.
On the show tonight, Idaho lawmakers are pretty frustrated. People from both sides of the spectrum were unable to come up with a compromise to fill that $240 million a year transportation funding shortfall.
The most frustrating thing for me is that I want to continue to improve the infrastructure of this state.
And it looks like that's not going to happen, at least not now. Idaho lawmakers from both houses now say there's no way for them to reach a deal on transportation funding. Many are already looking towards next session.
The problem is going to continue to get worse. The biggest difference may be that we're going to be even more in the hole.
The final nail in the coffin actually came as the sponsor of this $69 million transportation funding bill actually pulled it from the House floor.
This year, we did not have the ability to put together a package that would have passed this House.
Some House leaders are hoping that an audit will provide them with a roadmap towards finding efficiencies within the department. They also hope it will help them decide who should pay what in higher taxes.
Trying to figure out how much heavy trucks should pay, how much light trucks should pay, how much the vehicles should pay.
The legislature is expected to wrap up tomorrow. Coming up live at 6:30, the issue that could be their final one. Reporting live in Boise, Hannah Nadeau, today's Channel 6 News.
State lawmakers are on track to call it quits tomorrow, although there are some unresolved issues. Senior political reporter Scott Logan is live at the Capitol Annex with this story. Scott.
Well, the legislature marked its 86th day of this session, but there's an unmistakable sign that the end is near. You remember those porta potties under that big tent that was parked right out here behind the old Ada County Courthouse? Well, they're gone. Now, when it comes to issues that were facing lawmakers at the beginning of this session could be remembered as one of missed opportunities.
And this has been a long and a very interesting effort.
Governor Butch Otter and state lawmakers strike a surprise 11th hour bargain, harmoniously agreeing to fund more than $200 million in needed road repair and maintenance. April Fools. But the governor wasn't kidding this week when he talked about a need for better political dialogue.
And I meet with the legislative leadership, the majority on a weekly basis, the minority at their request on a biweekly basis. And we talk a lot, but we don't communicate very much. We don't come to a true understanding. And I think I have to push for more understanding in some of those meetings.
We wanted to know how Republican lawmakers felt, so I asked Senate Majority Leader Bart Davis. Do you think the governor's been effective in communicating?
There's always opportunities to improve communication, both between the House and the Senate, within your party, and as well with the governor.
But Senator Davis says Governor Otter did a better job of communicating this year than last session.
Is there an opportunity for us to do a little bit better job next year? Of course there is. And I would concur with the governor that improved communication is always important.
I talked with Democratic leaders here at the legislature, and they say that they thought the governor did a good job of communicating with them, but they agree that on key issues like transportation, personal property tax, and the local tax option, there has been little progress. Live at the Capitol Annex, Scott Logan, CBS 2 Eyewitness News.
An Idaho House committee pulled the plug on a bill that would have let businesses tax exempt their equipment. The plan would have let companies exempt the first $75,000 worth of equipment on the personal property tax. The original bill also would have eliminated the tax by the year 2015, but the Senate rejected all of that. That is where the House Taxation and Revenue Committee today rejected the Senate version of the bill today.